Howdy, I'm Grey Pilgrim. Well, one thing that's going around the media right now is discussions of the Kennedy assassination, because they keep releasing all these documents from the CIA that has held this stuff for, what, 60, 70 years? Anyway, I've done a couple of videos about this in the past, not about specifically the Kennedy assassination, but at least the Oswald's rifle. Now, Lee Oswald, I refuse to use Harvey because that's the name of a famous Jimmy Stewart movie, and I honor the memory of Jimmy Stewart and the movie. And Lee Oswald was just well, he was a nobody, probably a patsy. Bad itch. Anyway, so let's take the rifle. Well, before we get to the rifle, the Kingdom of Italy had just amalgamated all of its different components under the King of Sardinia and became a Kingdom of Italy a few years before this. But in 1891, when they did consolidate, they decided on a rifle. And the M19 1891, excuse me, was a pretty good rifle. I don't have one of those, but I do have an M 1891 carbine. This is the carbine. It's the cavalry carbine. It's a fairly good rifle, though it's bloody loud. I don't have any ammo for it, but this is a Carcano. Now, about the middle of the 1930s, Italian engineers had decided that 6.5 caliber bullet that it shoots was really not that effective. Same thing, by the way, that the Japanese had decided with their 6.5. The Japs went to a 7.7 caliber, and it became chambered in the Model 99 Arisaka. The M99 comes from the year of the Meiji dynasty, or the Meiji Restoration. So it's their calendar. Well, in like manner, the Italians had by this time been taken over by the fascists, and they were numbering things in the fascist era. I think the fascist era started in 1922 and went until 1943-ish, when Mussolini was kicked out of office. Anyway, so in 1938, which I think is about the fascist 22, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38. That's about the year 16 in the fascist era. They came up with the M1938, or A1938, I think they called it. And this is a 1938. Now, this was in 7.35 by 52, I do believe. And it's a hard to come by caliber. So is 6.5 these days. Anyway, and that's a point I'd like to mention. Well, the 6.5 one. They'd been fighting in Abyssinia and a few other places, and the 6.5 just did not really perform right. So they went to the 7.7 cartridge. Well, they started gearing up for this, and they geared up for the A38, and then World War II started. And they looked around and said, you know, we've got a ton of this 6.5 ammo, and we've got this 38 rifle. Why don't we make this in that? So they started making these in 6.5 Carcano. By the way, in all the news stories, they were calling this the Mannlicher Carcano. Ferdinand Mannlicher designed this. The magazine clip that these ammo rounds are in. This is, 5 rounds or 6 rounds, no, 5 rounds of 7.35 by 52 Italian. I don't have any of the 6.5, but they both use the same clip. Anyway, I have an interesting tale to tell on this. I did a video about it a little earlier, and I've mulled over the data I found on it a little bit. Oswald bought his rifle out of a mail order place in Chicago. Back then, you could just mail order rifles all the time out of magazines. And they were dirt cheap, too. I remember those days. Oh, I was too young to buy a rifle, but I so wanted one. Also, you could go down to the hardware store and see a a barrel with a bunch of rifle butts sticking out of it, and $5 each. Those were all Arisakas. World War II surplus, you know. Anyway, okay, now he's got his rifle in 6.5 Carcano. It was this model in 6.5. What about the ammo? Well, a couple of companies had made ammo. Well, this stopped on me again. Okay, let's start over. Not all the way. What I was saying was, he had his rifle. Now he needed ammo. And no company in the late 50s or early 60s was making Carcano ammo. Except one. It seems that a small special run was requested by the U.S. Marine Corps of the Winchester Western Corporation, and they turned out a batch of about 50,000 of them. And it was under a Marine Corps procurement contract. But anytime that the CIA would like to do a black project under the radar, they would just put the procurement into the hands of some other service, in this case the Marine Corps. What's interesting is, by this time, Spitzer points, that is these pointy bullets, were prevalent. The Carcano was the older style with a round nose on it. And the Winchester Westerns were this round nose sort of cartridge. Anyway, Oswald, when he was captured, he found he had, that's the ammo he had on him. That's the ammo he used. The Carcano he was using, first of all, it had a cheap scope on it, which was misaligned. It had a sticky bolt. It had a two-stage trigger that was really, really awful and grating. It had all kinds of little problems with it. And if he'd stopped out a gunsmith earlier that week, he could have had all those things tuned up. He never did. And the fact of what ammo he had, plus what ammo was shot, he never practiced with it. He never practiced at all. Anyway, so my point is, the Carcano was bought under an alias out of Chicago. The ammo was procured by the Marine Corps. You can tell that from the Winchester Western head stamp. Yes, there were two shops in Dallas that actually had Carcano ammo. One had was military surplus ammo that had the bullets pulled, a new powder load, and a hunting round bullet put in its place. The other one was a Spitzer pointed target pistol, target rifle sort of ammo. Neither one of them were Milser round nosed bullets, and they certainly weren't modern manufactured round nosed bullets. Only that one procurement from Winchester Western in a Marine Corps procurement contract in a small run was ever made. You know, funny about that, I know of one other CIA procurement. That was for a 7.62 by 45 for VZ-52s. That was made for the Bay of Pigs, in case you're interested. That was the weapon that the guys who went over to Cuba were armed with. And the 7.62 by 45 hadn't been made in forever. The Czechs used, that was a Czech rifle. They wanted something that they could just deny all knowledge of. So, you know, Operation Northwoods and all that. You know, there were a lot of overlapping CIA plans back then. But anyway, my point is, this rifle was originally designed in 7.7. It was then fitted with 6.5 because of wartime needs. And then later on, those were sold off surplus in the U.S. This is one of the rarities. This is an original 7.7 A38 Carcano. And it's, I bought this, well, actually, I know who used to own it, but, and he redid the stocks beautifully. I haven't got a sling for it yet, or had it drilled out for scope mounts. But it's a beautiful thing. Anyway, I do have 5 rounds. That's all the ammo I've got. I don't have any for this one yet. I'm looking. Anyway, just thought I would throw my 2 cents in about the JFK nonsense. Happy trails.